We all know what it's like to be sitting with a client who's been on and off dysregulated the entire session, and there are now only 5 minutes until the end of session, and we're scrambling because we want them to be okay when they leave the office. And they're in no shape to return to work or be with their family, let alone drive in Los Angeles traffic. I'm Linda Tai, somatic therapist and trauma therapist. I travel regularly to lead experiential workshops and trainings for therapists, and I speak at national and international mental health conferences. Therapists come to me saying that they've studied polyvagal theory and window of tolerance, but many of the techniques that they've learned for regulating their clients' nervous systems are intellectual, worksheet-based, or not somatic. They're too complicated, they take too long, or they don't work for some of their clients. It remains top-down. And it's not your fault. Graduate school curriculums rarely teach body-based nervous system regulation techniques beyond breathing and beyond basic grounding techniques. Even some of the better, well-known somatic psychotherapy training programs are biased towards top-down engagement, or to seem credible, they get lost in the psychotherapy part and the somatics gets lost. We also emphasize therapist self-care with broad brushstrokes, but fail to teach ourselves how to take care of ourselves in those precious few minutes in between sessions, or what to do for our own nervous systems when we get dysregulated during a session. I spent my first 10 years working in addiction recovery, where it was imperative that clients leave the group session or the individual session with regulated nervous systems to reduce the chance of relapse. It was also imperative that they learn how to regulate their own nervous systems outside of sessions. I needed simple, effective, and fast techniques that were easy for me to teach and easy for my clients to learn. I learned to do somatic psychotherapy. I studied somatic psychotherapy, but there were many clients that I found that I couldn't engage with my trainings around somatic psychotherapy. People who are in phase 1 of trauma treatment, people in crisis, people in the early stages of addiction recovery, children, teens. I'm sure you've had clients like this who are simply looking for more coping skills to help them get through acute crises or to help them get through the overwhelm of their lives. And there's also the folks for whom the psychoeducation around trauma and the nervous system is dysregulating. And so I went looking for simple body-based tools that act directly on the nervous system, that don't require me to provide psychoeducation to the client. So through reading, exploring occupational therapy, trying things on myself, collaborating with clients, and understanding how the nervous system functions, I've collected a library of techniques. Even therapists who do know somatic techniques don't know many of these ones. I know this because I didn't learn any of these techniques during my multi-year trainings in sensory-motor psychotherapy, somatic experiencing, or polyvagal theory. Let me show you a couple of these techniques right now. So there's this one technique that I shared with a client where index fingers, thumbs, index fingers, thumbs, and then one thumb, one index finger, and then switch, and then switch, and switch, and then face your hands towards each other and switch, and switch, and switch. And for this particular client, they actually used this technique when they went to court. And they reported back to me that it was so effective in helping them to stay in their body, to not dissociate, and to remain present during the entire event in such a way that at the end of that court experience, they felt that they turned up and said what they needed to say. They were present for the people that they were needed to be present for, and there wasn't a tax on their nervous system at the end of that day. So I invite you to have a look towards your exits and to notice the route between you and your exit. Have a look behind you, turning the torso. Have a look behind you in the other direction. Notice the space above you, the space in front of you, the space to your sides, and the space below you. Notice what emerges next. I invite you, if it feels okay, to turn your head slowly from side to side. For many of you, you would have noticed that a breath emerged. The phrenic nerve goes through cervical vertebrae 3, 4, and 5. It directly innervates the diaphragm, causing for breath to emerge. When we orient to our space, our exits above us, around us, behind us, where we are in space allows for a sense of spatial awareness and spatial relationality and spatial relative safety to emerge. I invite you to look into the distance, to look through the computer screen, to look through the wall to the imaginary horizon. And notice what emerges for you as your gaze orients towards the distance. For some of us, our self-regulatory capacity is enhanced when we have a sense of self-holding. So, a hoodie, which most people have, and then I'm going to put my head through the hoodie. And not put my arms through. I'm feeling so swaddled right now. And then I'm going to ask Brian, could you please come and offer me a little bit more support around the elbow? So nice and tight.
You got it.
Yeah, double knot. And then could you pull, yes, under one elbow and then the other elbow. Oh. Now my neck and shoulders are relaxed because my arms are getting the support that they need. And I'm gently pulling down on the hoodie part of the hoodie. And so my head is getting the experience of the pressure at the top of the skull that is the same as being in utero. It's so soothing. I've collected so many of these techniques over the years, and I wanted to put them all in one place so that therapists can access them all without having to listen to hours and hours of theory. So I put together a course with the Academy of Therapy Wisdom where in less than 2 hours, I'll give you a massive toolkit of over 30 techniques that you can use to help your clients regulate their nervous systems or to regulate yourself between sessions or even during session. You can pick one technique every week to try it for yourself and then offer it to your clients. Let me pause right here so Brian can help me to come out of my swaddle. Thank you. So in this course, we'll cover diaphragm release techniques. We'll hack the eyes to hack the stress response system. We'll help the body to come out of a peri-trauma response. There'll also be self-holding and self-swaddling techniques, vestibular engagement to hack the stress response system, bilateral stimulation techniques, completing the stress response cycle, as well as lesser known breathwork techniques for nervous system reset. And while these are gifts that we can give to our clients, these are also gifts that we can give to ourselves. These techniques I use on a daily basis, like multiple times throughout the day. I travel for 1 to 3 weeks every month. I often have large presentations in big conference rooms with lots of people, lots of nervous systems. And in order for me to be effective at the work that I do as a keynote speaker, I need to evoke a response from your nervous system, and I want to make sure that you're not dysregulated through listening to impactful storytelling. And these are the techniques that I live by so that I can enhance my productivity in the world through being a presenceful nervous system, a co-regulated offering into a space for others. And this is imperative in the therapy room as well as in the world. I guarantee you that you will not have heard of many of the techniques that I'll be sharing with you in this program. The feedback that I regularly get from therapists is that they are astounded at the simplicity and the effectiveness of these techniques that I'll be sharing with you in this course. So I invite you to join me for a theory-free cornucopia of techniques that are bottom up, that are fast and effective for helping your clients to re-regulate and to help yourself to re-regulate within the therapy session as well as out in the world. Ryan, where are you?
I'm sorry, I can't follow.